أهلا وسهلا بكم في هذه الحلقة الخاصة من عالم الطاقة، والتي نأتيكم بها من معرض ومؤتمر أبو ظبي الدولي للبترول أدبك 2023، والذي يركز هذا العام على ملف إزالة انبعاثات الكربون. بعد أزمة الطاقة الأخيرة بات العالم أكثر إدراكاً للدور المهم الذي تلعبه وستلعبه شركات الطاقة التقليدية. ومع اقتراب انعقاد مؤتمر الأطراف هو 28 ينصب التركيز اليوم على كيفية إزالة الانبعاثات من صناعة النفط والغاز، ولكن من دون المخاطرة بخلق أزمات جديدة. وبالفعل يعد الطريق مهيئا لخفض انبعاثات هذه الصناعة بشكل كبير مع تطور التقنيات، وتحديدا تلك المتعلقة بالتقاط الكربون وتخزينه. هذه المشاريع بحاجة للنمو بنحو 40 ضعفا حتى عام 2033 وفقا لسيناريو الحياد المناخي، وهذا النمو لا يمكن تحقيقه من دون شركات النفط والغاز. إزالة انبعاثات غاز الميثان جانب آخر قد تراهن عليه الصناعة. بعض التقديرات تشير إلى أن العالم بحاجة إلى 75 مليار دولار من الاستثمارات حتى عام 2030 لإزالة 75% من انبعاثات غاز الميثان، وهي المرتبطة بقطاع الطاقة حتى ذلك الوقت. وبما أن تحول الطاقة يتطلب وفق بعض التقديرات ما بين 3 و5 تريليونات دولار سنويا، فإن الخبرة التي تمتلكها صناعة النفط والغاز في مجال التمويل والاستثمار تجعل منها عنصرا فعالا في ملف التمويل والاستثمار في تحول الطاقة. وسنويا ينقل قطاع النفط والغاز ما قيمته 4 تريليونات دولار عبر سلاسل التوريد التي يتم بناؤها وتطويرها على مدى عقود، وهي خبرة يمكن نقلها إلى صناعة الطاقة النظيفة التي لا تزال حديثة العهد نسبيا. إذن تأتي شركات النفط والغاز إلى أدبك هذا العام، وهي تراهن على أنها لم تعد مجرد جزء من معضلة التغيير المناخي، بل هي مكون رئيسي من الحل. إذا نتحدث الآن وبالتفصيل عن قطاع النفط والغاز والطاقة المتجددة، وما هو منتظر من مؤتمر المناخ كوب 28 بالتفصيل مع الرئيس التنفيذي لشركة توتال باتريك. مرحبا بك أستاذ باتريك، وشكرا جزيلا لحضورك معنا اليوم. أبدأ معك بأسعار النفط التي استطاعت أن ترتفع بالربع الأخير بحوالي 30%. كيف ترى هذه الارتفاعات؟ شو السبب وراءها؟ وشو تأثير ذلك على الاستثمار في هذا القطاع؟
I think there is a very strong demand for oil. In fact, in 23, some people have doubts about the macro environment, but there is an increase of demand, plus more than 2 million barrels of oil extra demand in 23, and an announcement of another 1 million extra additional in 24. So there is a demand on one side, and on the other side, the supply, I would say, of course, the OPEC Plus is playing its game, and Saudi Arabia and Russia are, I would say, controlling their own supply. But I would also say that after years where investments in the oil business was a little low, we begin to see the impact on the supply side. So not much flexibility on the supply, a good demand, and prices are going up. Of course, this is probably good for investment, because when prices are up back to $95 per barrel, I think we'll see more investments. And I know that there is a debate about, because of climate change, about oil investment, what you should invest in oil. But in fact, this is the energy of today, oil, you know, and we have demand increase. So we need to continue to invest in new fields in order to sustain the demand, and that's our responsibility. So I think we'll see more investments in coming months.
هل ترى بأنه النفط ربما اليوم الأسعار قد تخترق صعودا الحاجز النفسي المهم عند $100؟ وإذا كان كذلك هل ممكن أن تبقى؟ وما الذي يعنيه ذلك؟
I think it's possible. You know, it's not far. By the way, I think our friends of Saudi Arabia or Aramco are already selling at $100 per barrel. Even the Brent and WTI are still $5 under. But light Saudi crude is at $100. So it's possible. Having said that, you know, there is also some doubts about where the macro environment will go. Will China continue to recover or not? So it's volatile, to be honest, to say the least. Today is high. We'll see. At a certain point, customers will complain, probably, and so maybe we'll have to manage this price not to raise too high.
توتال تعتبر الشركة الأكبر في تصدير الغاز المسال الأمريكي إلى الخارج، وأنتم لاعبون مهمون جدا بين الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية وأوروبا، يعني قمتم بتزويد أوروبا بالغاز وقت الأزمة. اليوم الأسعار ليست بالأسعار اللي ب 2019، ليست بهذا الانخفاض، ولكنها أفضل مما سبق. هل ترى اليوم برأيك مع مخزونات في أوروبا ما فوق 95% أننا قد نرى شتاء قاسي في أوروبا أم الأزمة أصبحت خلفنا؟
I think clearly 2022 was a huge crisis because suddenly a cut of almost 50 million tons of LNG, which were somewhere in the world to be back to Europe. So of course, I think we went over that crisis, but the market, energy market, is still fragile. Why? Because we still have this demand of LNG in Europe, which was unexpected. You know, we cut Russian gas. And in front of this demand, we don't have much increase of supply before 2026, 2027. The market is fragile. You know, this summer, there was rumors about strikes in Australia in some LNG plant, and we've seen the price in Europe going up by 30%. So the market is fragile. It will depend on the winter. If the winter is mild, it's okay. If the winter is cold, we could see the price going up again, because in fact in Europe we have a lack of storage. We don't have enough storage to go through the whole winter. From 26, 27, there will be more supply of LNG, including from the US. So probably the market will be easier for European gas.
توتال أعلنت عن استراتيجية 2023 منذ أيام قليلة، تحدثت فيها بأنها تريد أن ترفع أو تقوم بتحقيق نمو على قطاعي النفط والغاز بين 2 ل 3%. هذا يقودنا إلى سؤال: أنتم كنتم من أكثر الشركات من حيث الربحية، والبعض يقول أنها كانت بسبب ما يسمى ب bold investments، أقل ما يكون يعني هي ربما مخاطرة، يعني كنتم قد دخلتم إلى مناطق وقطاعات مهمة. اليوم في الاستثمارية الجديدة على أي القطاعات بما يسمى بخليط الطاقة ستركزون؟
Yes, we have announced that we'll increase our oil and gas. We like oil and gas. You know, it's an oil and gas company which is also diversifying to electricity and renewables. But our core business is oil and gas because it is the energy of today. We focus first on LNG. We just discussed LNG. We have one of the top 3 players in the LNG of the world, in particular largest US exporter. We have a big gas capacity in Europe. We believe of the future of LNG because gas, natural gas, is one of the energy of the transition. If we want to back out coal, and there will be discussions at COP28 in Dubai, natural gas has a role to play in China, in India. So natural gas and oil as well, and oil in particular in the Middle East. You know, in 2023, we have increased our footprint here in Abu Dhabi by acquiring a new concession of Sab Lulu, and we have launched large projects in Iraq. This is why we are considered as bold. But in Iraq, I think it's honestly, we like the Middle East. Why? Because this is the area where you can produce the oil with a lower cost, $5 per barrel. So it's why we are the most profitable, because TotalEnergies is the company with the largest footprint in the Middle East, where you can produce the cheapest oil. So at the end, it's a way to make profit. So there is nothing bold. It's just looking to where we can have developed, again, affordable oil for the customer.
ذكرت الاستثمار في أبو ظبي، ذكرت الاستثمار والمشروع الكبير الذي تقومون به بالعراق، أنتم أيضا موجودون في لبنان، موجودون في مصر. أين هي المناطق الأخرى التي تنظر إليها توتال، يعني الخريطة الجغرافية؟
By the way, I'm flying tomorrow to Doha to inaugurate the North Field expansion with the Emir of Qatar. So, you know, we have also a big lion's place in the expansion in Qatar. So, you know, we have just announced this year as well a very large petrochemical project, Amira, with Saudi Aramco, where we are working also on them, on some gas projects. So, I mean, we are in Middle East and North Africa as well. You mentioned Lebanon, it's exploration. So exploration, let's make the well. We'll see what we'll find. We are exploring in Cyprus. We have also developed a large position in Libya in the recent years and Algeria. So, you know, Total is born in the Middle East. We are born in 1924 in Iraq. We come back in 2023 in Iraq, which is a long history. Next year is our 100-year anniversary.
دعني أنهي أنا وإياك بكوب 28. الجميع ينتظر أجندة كوب 28 وما هي المخرجات التي ستكون اليوم. الرئيس المعين الدكتور سلطان الجابر أعلن بأنه هناك عمل، هناك أكثر من 20 شركة في الطاقة التقليدية هي تدعم التوجه لإنهاء الانبعاثات ب 2050. ما هو موقفك من ذلك؟ هل أنتم ضمن هذه ال20 شركة؟ أنا بعرف بأنه أنتم عندكم مخطط ضمن توتال لإنهاء غاز الميثان ب 80% تقريبا بحلول العام تقريبا 2030. ما هي الخطة وكيف ترى كوب 28 قادر على جلب هذا القطاع المهم جدا ليكون جزء من الحل ربما قائد له؟
Yes, Total Energies is one of the 20 supporters of the global acceleration platform that Dr. Sultan is promoting. I hope that much more companies, oil and gas companies, will join because it's very important. This is a roadmap. I think, you know, we know that oil and gas will be necessary for the energy of the world. So the first pillar of Total Energy strategy, we need to slash down all the emissions when we produce oil and gas. We need to produce oil and gas in a different way. We can eliminate the emissions. Let's be serious. Total wants to decrease it by 40% between 2015 and 2030. Methane, yes, methane is natural gas. You know, we are a big promoter of natural gas, so slashing down methane emissions, we can do it. We have the technology. We need to focus on it. And in the company, I said to my colleagues, look, we are aiming for zero fatalities. We must aim for zero methane. This is the conditions to be able to continue to deploy and to develop our natural gas strategy. So this is possible. Yesterday we discussed, and I was able to, I'm happy to announce to Senator John Kerry, the Secretary, Climate Secretary from the US, that we are ready to join a special methane fund and to contribute for $25 million to this fund. I think it's very important that the oil and gas industry will engage in this fight against emissions. And then the other part of the transition is to invest in clean energy. Total Energies, we became Total Energies because we are developing a new business in the electricity based on renewable and gas-fired power plants, fixed batteries, in order to be a new business for Total Energies. This year we'll make $2 billion out of electricity. We target $4 billion in 5 years, so it's a huge growth. And I want also, so we need to engage, I think, the oil and gas companies. I'm convinced we have everything. We have the engineers, the technologies, the money. We must be part of the transition. So I'm very happy that we will be participating constructively, not to obstruct anything. We are there to contribute positively to the transition. This is my ambition as CEO of Total Energies.
شكرا جزيلا لك الرئيس التنفيذي لتوتال انرجي باتريك هويني على وجودك معنا اليوم.
Thank you for your welcome.
بما أن الوصول إلى الحياد المناخي لا يمكن أن يحدث من دون إشراك الجميع، كنت قد التقيت الرئيسة التنفيذية لشركة النفط الوطنية الأوغندية وسألتها عن مكانة القارة الإفريقية في هذه الجهود وكيفية المواءمة ما بين تحقيق الأهداف الوطنية للطاقة والوفاء بأهداف الحياد المناخي.
Thank you so much, and I'm happy to be here. Now, of course, Uganda hasn't yet started producing its oil and gas resources. But when you look at the National Development Plan and the agenda, it's really anchored on utilizing the oil and gas resources to prosper industrialization and move the country from low income to middle income status or even better. And oil and gas resources are a very critical part of that piece. When you look at the projects we are working on to the scope of 15 to 20 billion US dollars, we are looking at developing upstream, developing a refinery, developing the East African crude oil pipeline, having storage terminals, developing a petrol-based industrial park, and this will ultimately improve the balance of payments, improve on the GDP, and also create jobs and provide security of supply. And that's just, a few of the macroeconomic benefits that we are seeing from the sector. Now, that being said, of course, our developments come at a time when our industry is having or facing a lot of pushback due to climate action, which is okay because we are supposed to be responsible citizens to Mother Nature, which is fine. But again, we are also responsible citizens to recognize the need for energy access, because the levels of energy poverty in Africa, and Uganda in particular, are still high. Today, only 42% of Africa, of Uganda, is connected by electricity. And by 2030, we want to improve that number to over 90%. That's a major task. We need to provide for security of supply of petroleum products to Uganda. That's another task. But at the same time, while we develop these projects, we are supposed to be reputable companies and citizens in such a way that we are able to capture emissions and, deploy technology in a way that is going to reduce the CO2 emissions anticipated. For example, some of the interventions that we are making today on some of the projects is solarization of above ground installations on the East African crude oil pipeline. And we'll see that reduce CO2 emissions by over 30%. That's a good initiative. The other way is the fact that every technical planning for every project has been putting environmental considerations at the forefront of the planning, which means that we do not ignore the responsibility we have to the environment. And this includes doing, environmental social impact assessments, which undergo public disclosure. Then, of course, the technical designs themselves, the environmental standards, IFC standards, the environmental due diligence. We've been intentional on addressing issues of environment impact during the planning for our projects. Now, of course, when you look at the other projects that we're bringing on board, like the refinery and the Kabalega petrol-based industrial park, even those ones, in their planning, we are being intentional around putting environmental considerations at the forefront. So yes, we recognize the fact that oil and gas in Uganda is going to play a critical piece in pushing the industrialization agenda with the several macroeconomic benefits that I've listed. But at the same time, we are also being intentional because we can't shy away from the fact that we need to do better, we need to do clean, and we have the option to do it right from the start.
كوب 28 اليوم يجمع المجتمع وقطاع ما يسمى بالطاقة التقليدية. بالوقت نفسه يضعه كمحور أساسي في جهود العمل على أجندة المناخ. برأيك قد ايه مهم هذا الدور بداية؟ وهل تعتقدين بأنه إعطاء هذا الدور للقطاع اللي مسؤول عن حجم كبير من الانبعاثات اليوم قد يساعد بالفعل بالدفع في عملية تخفيف الانبعاثات وتحقيق أجندة المناخ العالمية؟
I think it's very important, and as an industry, previously, of course, the oil and gas industry has been looked at as one of the key industries contributing to emissions. Now, of course, if you're going to structure solutions around climate change, you have to bring all energy producers on the table without, eliminating the oil and gas and focusing on renewables. I think we all know that oil and gas is going to still play a fundamental role in the ecosystem of energy mix. And of course, with the other energy producers coming into the same room with the oil and gas companies, it creates a platform to share knowledge, to share experience, to share technologies, to look at the energy ecosystem as a unified system that all energy producers can plug in to meet the ever-growing demands for the consumers. So it's important as well for the oil and gas industry to be seen to be leaders in the change rather than being looked at as part of the problem. because if you note the industry is so grounded in technology, innovation, and so much advancement in that area that we can actually deploy some of these solutions to abate the emissions. So I look at COP28 as a platform for us to share experience, to share knowledge, to come to unified solutions around climate action, rather than shying away as an oil and gas industry and leaving it to the other people to supply other energy forms. It's critical that we all have a unified voice, because climate change impacts us all. It's not going to impact only the oil and gas industry. It's a unified action for all.
وهنا السؤال: ما هو شكل مزيج الطاقة الذي تعتقدون بأنه المزيج الأمثل لتحقيق غايتين: الاقتصاد العالمي واستمرار نموه، وتحقيق أهداف المناخ؟
The energy mix will depend on location, really. At a global scale, of course, we know that oil and gas still plays a fundamental role, and there's much renewables that are coming on board, like wind, solar, nuclear, hydrogen, and all these forms of energy. But when you go to a local scale, for example, for Uganda, we are trying to move people away from biomass, that is cutting down trees. So it's going to be a little bit different. How do you move those people from cutting away trees to perhaps LPG, to perhaps cleaner forms of, of cooking? So the perspective from Uganda may look different. South Africa may look different because they're moving away from coal-based economy, perhaps to something more, renewable. It's going to be different. But from a global context, of course, we'll see a lot of investments in more renewables, much as oil and gas is still going to play a fundamental role. And remember, most of the countries, like I said, in Africa, they are planning to use their oil and gas resources for industrialization. And it's not easy to switch the products of industrialization. So until, of course, for the aviation sector, the automotive sector, it's easy to switch from maybe combustion engines to EVs. That's easy. But for the other bottom of the barrel products like petrochems, fertilizers, it's going to be a little bit complex to switch. So certainly we are going to still see, in a broad sense, most of the oil and gas industry still forming part of the energy mix, but at the same time, more investments being projected into the other renewable forms.
Thank you very much. بهذا نصل إلى ختام حلقة عالم الطاقة، والتي جئناكم بها من مؤتمر أديبك 2023. اللقاء يتجدد يوم الثلاثاء المقبل. إلى اللقاء.